We left our Lego behind in cold, snowy Cleveland, Ohio, and flew all the way down to warm, sunny, south central Honduras. We didn't come here for a vacation though. We came to provide clean water so that kids don't have to drink toilet water. We've been spending long days in hot, dry, dusty, rural villages because we know that people need access to clean water. Dirty water is a problem across the whole world and specifically here in Honduras. Many people have access to water, but it's not clean to drink. And some people don't even have access to running water. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you 2 simple ways that you can help provide clean water to people without donating any money and even without getting up off of the couch. I am with Darla Boyk, the founder and brigade coordinator for Mission Honduras. Darla, tell me a little bit about how Mission Honduras started.
I traveled here in 2017 with the John Carroll Medical Brigade, and we went up into 5 different villages and conducted brigades there, and it was just heartbreaking, to say the least, to see the water that at the different schools that the children were drinking. For example, we went to one village called Arriba, and the water in this called the Pila was where they collect water was slate gray, and a child came up and dipped their cup in there and drank it. And then to see, as we were going through meds and dispensing meds, seeing how many of those medical issues were related to dirty drinking water. And when I went home, I became, gotta be honest with you, I kind of went home pretty angry as to how can this happen to people, and how can God let this happen to people. And then I kind of realized that He left it in our hands to make some of these changes, and we are called to make a difference, and kind of decided that He was asking us, why don't we do something about it? And so it kind of turned into handing out water filters.
Clean water is essential for drinking water, making coffee, brushing teeth, washing hands, cooking, and even medical situations. Stick around for later when we tell you a unique way that we even found safe, clean water to be helpful in a critical moment for the health of a woman we met. With first-hand witness of the need for clean water, Mission Honduras returned. In 2018, Mission Honduras began distributing the first water filters to a select few villages as resources allowed, and training every household in the village.
At this point, we have 1,351 water filters out in 17 different villages scattered across the mountains in Honduras. We know that all the water is very highly contaminated up there. For example, we have been doing some testing for a bacteria called E. coli, which causes very significant GI issues, vomiting, diarrhea, and so on and so forth. For example, in the mountains, most of the water has been testing over 100 and sometimes as high as 160 units of E. coli. And in the U.S., the allowable limit is 0, just to give you an idea of how high that is.
Here's how the filter works. First, the people fill up a bucket with their water, whether that is from the tap at their home, their pila, or from another source. Then the water runs through a small mesh screen, which removes visible debris, then through the hose, and then through a 0.1 micron filter that filters out parasites and bacteria. They run their filtered water into a second clean bucket.
These filters will clear 99.999% of the bacteria and parasites and some other type of things like called amoeba.
This trip, we returned to 6 of the villages that have received water filters in the past. To 1, retrain the people who showed up to the brigade. For example, here Tango is teaching a local woman how to back flush her filter in Flora Azul, a beautiful community with a new concrete soccer patch where a young woman led us to an out-of-the-way, sweeping view of the valley.
We know that we have to go back and make sure that people are cleaning these filters correctly. So we're going back and we're working with them one-on-one to help teach them the proper way to take care of their filter, because just like anything else, practice takes work, right? Because someone teaches me something new, and then very quickly I go home and I only remember maybe 10% of what they told me. So we have to keep going back and working with them one-on-one.
To clean the filter must be back flushed. If a filter was brought to the brigade that had not been back flushed in a long time, we would work with them to back flush repeatedly until the water ran clear. 2. Resource the people as needed if a part had broken, such as here in Los Liquidambos, a coffee-growing village, where we handed out some new syringes, hooks, and hoses to those who needed them.
If the filter isn't working, they're coming in and asking for another filter. If they need a syringe or another part that they need to take care of the filter, they're coming in and asking for that. So they are actively engaging in this process. So that helps us know that the filters are making a difference for them. Do you feel your family is healthier because of the filter?
Oh, sí, sana, porque sabe que si uno bebe agua, si no bebe agua filtrada, entonces vienen los parásitos, que parece dolor de barriga, que tantas cosas, ¿verdad? Y uno viendo el agua filtrada, ya ve más con salud uno. Entonces, por eso que me encanta, ¿verdad? Y las ayudas que ustedes han dado.
3. Check how the filters were performing after 1 to 4 years of use. For example, here Colin is set up with his colleague in the corner of a school to test water samples in El Suyatillo, a small farming village halfway up a mountain that has a lot of pigs. And 4. Build relationships with community leaders so that they are empowered to be in charge of the filters. For example, this man is the village council president in Lomas Limpias, with whom we already have a good relationship. This community has strong leadership, and they have worked together to better their village, with improved bathrooms, water storage, and more. He expressed his gratitude to our group after our day was done.
The other thing we're trying to really do is build a partnership within the community, and by continuing to go back, we're letting them know that we care, that we're in this with them, and that we're also being responsive to what that village needs, because it's not what we need, it's what they need. It's not what makes us feel better, it's what makes them feel better and works in that situation. So we've been going back up to villages, and we'll continue to do so. We've been working on creating what we call filter advocates within each village, kind of like filter experts who can do what we do and when we go back to the villages, and they can help people clean their filters and troubleshoot, and even just reinforce things like drink clean water, use clean water for drinking, use clean water for washing your hands, use clean water in all aspects of their life. And we're also completing water testing for things like E. coli, because we need to have an idea of how long these filters last, so that helps us plan going forward.
So you've talked to a lot of people. I mean, experts in the United States, you've talked to experts, professors and microbiologists. You've also talked to a lot of people on the ground here in Honduras. And it's important, I think, for anybody to find out whether or not the filters work and how that looks. So, in our conversations with people here in Honduras, what is the reception that you're getting from them?
Cato and Tango, who are logistics coordinators, and we really don't do anything without talking things over with them first, because they are the local experts. They are very strongly supportive of the filters. As we go in and talk to, clinic nurses, clinic nurses up in the mountains, village health consuls, teachers, we keep hearing glowing reviews of how well the filters are working. For example, a teacher used to see parasites in the stool and, believe it or not, coming out of kids' noses and their ears and that kind of gross stuff. And she's just not seeing that anymore. Little old ladies come in and say their stomachs no longer hurt. Moms bring their babies, and saying that their babies are no longer as cranky, that they have a better appetite. So we repeatedly hear good things about the filters over and over and over, about the life-changing impact that these filters have on them in terms of less GI pain, less diarrhea. An average child in diarrhea has diarrhea 13.6 times per year. That's every 21 days. If we can have an impact on that, that's going to have a huge number, because children become anemic. That means there's not enough red blood cells, and that affects their growth, that affects their learning ability. And so we keep hearing how well these filters, they come in and they're saying how much better they feel because of the filters.
Colin worked directly with an expert to gather the water that was filtered through a used filter before we did anything to it, and performed a test of the water for bacteria. Then they tested the water after it had been repeatedly flushed, and also after going through a new treatment process to restore the filter. These tests showed that the used filters that had not been backwashed regularly were not filtering out all the bacteria. But once they ran it through the new process, it was back up and working properly. A filter may make the water look clean, but looks can be deceiving. The bacteria is invisible to the naked eye. So testing the filters the people brought with them really helped us to see what was going on. We concluded that poorly maintained filters resulted in bacteria-laced water samples. But when people are better trained on how to keep it clean, we can reverse those results.
So data plays a huge role in this, and for those of you that don't know, I am a professor at a university in the Cleveland area, and I love data. And so I've been helping Mission Honduras as well as our university look at the data, the patient sheets, and information we get on the patients from the doctors and the nurses, and asking them questions about the filters. So we're taking the patient information and the filter use and lining them up. And we even have a publication in a public health journal that is peer-reviewed that demonstrates that the filters can be helpful, but, and this is an important thing, you have to keep testing them. You can't just test them a year out and say, it's working, it's all great. So we are continuing to do that, and we are now about 5 years into this project. And so we've accomplished, I think, what we've learned.
The learning curve is very steep. Every time we come down or every time we have a conversation at home, there's always something that's like, oh, you know, why didn't I think of that? You know, but it's kind of a unique thing that we're doing in terms of there are several groups that bring filters, but we're making a point of going back and creating those long-term relationships.
Remember how clean water is important in medical situations? This is what it looks like. While our group was conducting a medical brigade, a lady arrived with a troubling foot wound. The first step to helping this woman was to wash out the wound, but we certainly couldn't use contaminated water for that. So one doctor came to the water filter station, and we were able to hook her up with some fresh, clean, filtered, safe water. The nurses, doctors, physical therapists, and foot care specialists all helped this lady leave that day feeling much more able and with a foot on the road to recovery. We have a start, but we need to continue to distribute new filters, continue training, support an advocate, and more. Mission Honduras has learned a ton and is unique in its commitment to have lasting results in these people's lives over time.
Remember how I said there are 2 ways where you can help provide clean water to people in rural Honduras? Well, the first thing you can do, you've already done. By watching this video, you are helping people get access to clean water because 100% of the revenue generated by this video goes directly to providing clean water to people in rural Honduras. The second thing you can do is also really easy, and you've already started doing that. Subscribe to our channel and watch our videos. 10% of all revenue generated by this channel goes to Mission Honduras, which is going to help provide clean water to people, distribute water filters, train people on how to use them, troubleshoot them, and provide support for our community advocates. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, ring the bell for notifications, keep watching our videos, and always remember to keep building together.